Well, hello and welcome to Art with Mrs. Torres. Today, I'm so excited because we are going to be making marbled paper. Now, this project, anybody, any age can do this. We're going to be using shaving cream. And by the way, it doesn't matter what brand you have, just any kind of shaving cream. So look in your bathroom cupboard. You probably got something hidden underneath there. You're going to need a little bowl of water. You're going to need watercolors, whatever kind you have in your house will work. And of course, a paintbrush. You're also going to need a napkin or some paper towels. And that's going to be for two things. Number one, wiping our hands off because they're going to get a little messy. And secondly, for covering the table when we're working. Don't forget to grab a pencil. We're going to be using it today, but for not what you think it's for. So when we're doing our project, you're going to have to figure out what kind of paper you want to do your printing on. So this is just plain old white construction paper that I cut in strips and folded in half to make a card. This is on cardstock. They both work great. This is on watercolor paper. So as you can see, all papers work. The only one I wouldn't recommend is that really thin paper that comes out of the printer. Let's save that for the days that we do drawing. But for our printing today, so you're going to have to get some kind of white paper that's a little heavier. You're going to need shaving cream, a pencil, a paintbrush, some watercolors, and of course, a little bowl of water or a cup of water. Now, the last thing you're going to want to look for is something to put your shaving cream in. I'm going to be using this little dish that came out of my kitchen. You could use a tinfoil pan. You could use a paper plate. Anything will work. Just something that you can put your shaving cream in so that we can get ready to play. I cannot wait to teach you this marbling technique. And let's get ready to start. Welcome back. Okay, you've gathered up some shaving cream, and it doesn't matter what brand you have, any type of shaving cream will work. We're going to put that off to the side. You're going to need some kind of dish or tray or pan or plate to put your shaving cream in. We're going to put that off to the side for now. You're going to be needing a pencil and a paintbrush. We're going to put that off to the side. You're going to need some water and paints. We're going to move that off to the side. And you're going to need something to cover your work area. I'm going to be putting down some paper towels because when I splatter, this way it won't get all over my desk. So you might want to put a couple paper towels or newspapers down before we begin. You're also going to need a piece of paper. Oh, I forgot to tell you to get a pair of scissors. You might want to run over and grab a pair of scissors because we're going to be using that for cutting our paper. We're going to take a piece of cardstock or construction paper or heavier paper, and watercolor paper will work also, and we're going to fold it in half. We don't want to make a gigantic piece of paper. It's just too big. It's better to work a little bit smaller. So once I do that, I'm going to open up my paper and I'm going to cut it right down the fold. So go ahead, grab your scissors. I'm going to go grab mine and I'm going to cut my paper right down this fold. Okay, once I have cut my paper down the fold, I'm going to take one of those pieces of paper and fold it in half. I'm going to take the second piece of paper and fold it in half. So now out of one piece of paper, I'm going to get to make two cards, two marbled cards. Now let me show you some examples of what I did with my paper. You could either print both sides at the same time in your pan, or you can fold your card up the way I did on this one and lay it in the foam this way. And when you're done, you'll have a painted paper on the front, and then you can fold up the card like this. So let's now move on to our next part of our project, and that is going to be getting ready to make our print. So we're going to get our pan, and we're going to get our shaving cream, and we're going to put some shaving cream inside of our pan. Now I'm going to demonstrate two different types of shaving cream because some shaving cream, when it comes out, will be nice and foamy right away. Others, like this brand here, when you spray it, it's going to look like a blue ribbon, and you're going to actually have to kind of stir it around with your fingers to get it foamy. So let me show you first the first type of shaving cream. This is the basic shaving cream. And by the way, you want to shake it up about 10 times before you spray it. And you're not going to need very much. You're just going to put a little bit in the bottom of the pan. because as you can see, it starts to swell up. See how it's swelling up like this? Now, the other type of shaving cream will come out this way. So if you have this type of shaving cream, it'll come out like a little glob of foam like this, that's blue. What you can do is then just take your fingers and stir it up like this. And as you can see, it will develop into that foam. So either way, you can get that same type of shaving cream puff that looks kind of like whipped cream. So now I'm going to take two of my fingers and I'm going to kind of flatten it out. Oh my goodness, it smells so good too. I'm just going to kind of flatten it out a little bit so it's not all in the center. That way I get a nice print. And you want it to be about as wide as the piece of paper that you're going to be placing inside. Now I'm only going to be doing 1/2 because it shows up a little better on my camera. Now, any leftover that you have on your hands, you can just kind of wipe off. Say, just kind of use my finger like this to wipe it off and stick it back in there. Now I'm going to get my napkin and wipe my hands. So I'm just going to use a paper towel today for wiping my hands. And now we're going to start to prepare our paint for our painting project. So I'm going to get a paintbrush and my cup of water. And I'm going to start wetting the colors that I'm going to want to use for my project. So in this one here, I used purple and green and blue. We don't want to use all the colors of the rainbow yet because we don't want to dirty up our shaving cream too much. So I'm just going to add some water to purple, blue, and one other color. So I'm going to use green because I really like green. Now I have another watercolor set here. So this watercolor set comes with a little bit more of a variety of colors. And I happen to like pink. So I'm just going to put a little water into this pink so it can start softening up. But if you don't have that, don't worry. You can use red later and just put a little bit of red in your foam and it'll look pink. All right, so once I've added some water to the colors that I want to use, I'm going to move my water off to the side. I will keep using that water to rinse my brush in between colors. And now we're going to get ready to do our painting. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to take our paintbrush and we're going to very gently stir it in the color. So I'm going to start with the green first. And I want to really stir it so that I get a nice, good coat of paint on my brush, but it's very liquidy. Then I'm going to take my pencil. Now, remember, I told you we're going to be using our pencil in a different way than we normally do. We're going to be using it to tap our paintbrush. So I'm going to hold my paintbrush over the foam and I'm going to lightly tap it. Now, if you hold your paintbrush right up here on the tip, it'll help your paintbrush kind of dance a little bit. It'll bounce a little bit. You'll get a little bit more of a swing to your paintbrush, which will really help your colors to sprinkle nicely. And you can see I'm getting a little bit on my paper towel that's covering my table. So that's why I asked you to make sure that you put something underneath. Now, if you do get a bunch on your table or on you, it's watercolor. It washes out. So don't worry. You can wipe off your table later. So that's my first color. I'm just going to try some green. I'm going to rinse out my brush. Now I'm going to twirl my brush into the blue. And you can use any color you want. I want to get a nice, good saturated coat on my brush. The larger the paintbrush is, the bigger your drops are going to be too, by the way. So if you're using a little tiny paintbrush, you're going to get really small little dots, which is going to still be beautiful, but you just will have to dip your brush a few more times. Now, one thing that's important is you do want to leave a little bit of the white shaving cream showing. You don't want to cover the entire surface with too much color. You need to have something to break it up. You need that white. My final color I'm going to be doing for this print is purple. So I'm going to add a little purple to my brush. This color is so beautiful. And I'm going to tap it in. I'm just lightly tapping it. I'm kind of trying to hold my brush right up here at the top. Maybe one more coat of purple. And then I'm going to just set my brush in my water. And now I'm going to take my pencil, and this time we're going to be using our pencil for a different technique. So we're going to take this pencil and we are going to be actually drawing inside the foam. Now, it's very important that when you do this today, that you only draw slowly and really focus on what you're doing. Now, I'm just going to be making a really slow zigzag pattern. Nothing fancy. I'm just dragging it through the foam, back and forth, all the way down to the very bottom. Now, once I do that, I can make my print right now. That's beautiful. Oh, by the way, you might have a little extra foam. You can just wipe it off on your paper towel. It's on your table. So then I can lay my print in there, or I can make it even more creative and zigzag the opposite way, like this. Now, once I have finished my little zigzag pattern, you'll notice I didn't stir it all around and make it all one color. I'm still leaving it like this. Now I'm going to take my piece of paper. Remember, we made our little folded card. I'm going to fold it and I'm going to lay it into the pan. So I'm going to set it this way. So part of my paper is sticking up, and I'm going to start to press. Now, you'll notice I'm pressing very gently, but I'm making sure all of the surface is covered in foam. Now, as I do this, if you push too hard, all the foam's going to squish up on the sides of your pan. Now you want to massage it. And the reason you want to start massaging it like this, I use 2 fingers, is that you're going to help all the air bubbles pop underneath, because you want every part of that paper to be covered with foam. Now, when I'm finished, I'm going to lift it up. And it's going to look pretty funny at first. That doesn't look too pretty yet, I know. I'm going to move my tray out. I'll put it back later. I'm going to set this on top of my paper towel. Now I'm going to shave it. So I'm going to just use my pencil for shaving. If you have an old credit card, like an old Starbucks card or something around the house, that works really good too. But most people always will have their pencil with them. So I think it's easiest just to use your pencil. And all I'm going to do is set my pencil on its side. I'm going to hold one end of the pencil, like the eraser end, and I'm just going to drag it like this. Watch. See that? Extra foam right there. I'm going to take that extra foam and I'm going to wipe it right here on my napkin. I'm going to keep scraping off a little bit more. Look at how beautiful that is. And wipe it off on my napkin. Now a little bit more. And I'll wipe it off on my napkin. And when I have most all of it wiped off, then I'm going to take my napkin. Oh my goodness, this foam is so much fun. I'm going to take my napkin, I'm going to open it up, and I'm just very softly going to blot my card. I don't want to rub it because I don't want to take all that beautiful color off. I'm just going to blot it. When I'm finished, look at this pretty card. Now yours might look different than mine. Your colors might have been different. So that's just our first one. We still have another card where we can make one more. So I'm going to set this off to dry. And I'm going to bring my foam back. So you can see I still have color in there. I could lay another piece of paper down in there, but you will have a much more soft and faded color. So what you can do now is you can add more color to this and make another print. So now if you wanted to change your colors, you could add some different colors in there. So remember I told you I liked pink. So I'm going to take my other paint set and I'm going to stir my brush into the pink. If you don't have pink, you could also use red, and you could try any of the colors. Now you could go in and make a rainbow pattern if you wanted to. I'm going to tap my colors in. I'm going to add a little bit more water. I'm going to rinse out my brush. I'm going to go back in with that beautiful purple. rinse out my brush, and I'm going to go in with blue. So my last pattern that I did, I kind of stirred in a certain pattern. I went back and forth this way and up and down. Maybe this time you want to do something like a spiral. I wonder what that's going to look like when I put my card in there. I'm going to wipe off my pencil. I'm going to get my second piece of paper that I had off to the side. So you can see why we want to use cardstock and not the paper that comes out of the printer or construction paper. It's just a little thicker. I'm going to set my card in there softly. And if you're starting to get a little bit of color on your fingers or your hands, you know we're working with watercolor. It's going to come out once you wash your hands. You could help your parents do the dishes. It'll really come off. And your parents would love that. Okay, so I'm giving it a little massage, making sure all those hopeful air bubbles are out. So if you happen to pick it up and you have spots on your card that did not get foam on them, that happens to me sometimes too. You just have to set it back in the paper, set it right back into the foam, and the color will attach to it. So I can't wait to see what this is going to look like. I'm going to move my tray off to the side. I'm going to set my card back down. I'm going to get my pencil and I'm going to shave it. Oh, wow, look at this one. I'm going to wipe it off on my napkin. You might need to grab a few extra napkins. My hands are getting kind of dirty, so I'm going to grab another napkin. And once you have scraped all the shaving cream off, then you're going to take your napkin and you just want to blot it. Now, when you're all finished with your card, another thing that you can do is make matching envelopes. So in some of my cards, I bought a little set of stationery that was blank. I found this at the craft store. If you guys have a Michael's craft store, I don't know what brand craft store you have near you, you can also make matching envelopes to go with your papers that you make. So I've been having so much fun. Look at all these fun envelopes I've been making and beautiful cards. So I hope you had fun today learning how to make marbled paper. It really wasn't hard, was it? I think anybody could do this. What a fun project this would be to do with your family. You could gather your family around, get out some watercolors and paints, and explore this project. So I hope you had fun today. I will see you for our next lesson, and I hope you have a wonderful day.